Okay, we're live streaming now. Cool. And I just have to shut this off because if it comes on YouTube, it's going to start bouncing back my voice. So I just have to put that on mute. Okay. Okay, good. That's done. All right, here we are. Jai, Avadhuta Maharaj, my obeisances to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Wonderful to have your association. Thank you so much. You're in Miami at this time, is that correct?
No, I'm in
Florida, somewhere?
south of Sao Paulo, Brazil, in a little town called, it's a very long name, I can't even pronounce it. But I'm near the Nugoku Farm.
Okay.
Brazil.
Okay, you're there. I see. I got it. Yeah. So I searched for you online. I was hoping to find the photo of you in Australia doing a guitar kirtan. That was the photo I was looking for, but this is the only one I could find.
I can send you. I got a photo I just got from Brazil. If you want to try that.
Yeah. Maybe. Yes. Sorry.
I'll send it to you right now.
Okay, and then maybe I can include that for part 2 because I don't think we'll get it all done in part 1. So what I read is that this is the first marriage. This took place October 10th, 1970 in what's it called? It starts with a B. Bondi
Beach.
Bondi Beach, right. Yeah. And it said that Tirthapad, I think, is the one overseeing it, and Krishna Das is the best man. and
Tirthapad is playing the drum.
Okay.
Charu from Spanish forcing.
Wow, your voice is all kind of.
Pedro playing on him. Let me put the microphone.
Voice is broken up, I think, because of the reception.
Okay, I got a microphone now.
Okay, hopefully that won't interfere. Okay, yeah, so let's see how far we can get with this. If you don't mind sharing, Maharaj, when was the first time you heard the holy name of Krishna? And yeah, how did you first hear the name of Krishna? Where did you hear it? How did you hear it?
I heard it on Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley in
1969.
1969.
There was a Harinam party out there?
Yeah, on the corner of Telegraph and University. But they didn't have dhotis and saris,
What did they have? Just hippie clothes?
Yeah, hippie clothes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were thinking this is the religion of the hippies, maybe?
Well, later I ran into a devotee also on Telegraph Avenue who had a dhoti and shaved head, and he asked me for a donation and gave me the mantra card. So from that day, I started chanting.
Oh, wow. Who was that devotee?
I have no idea.
Okay. So 69, I guess. Well, yeah, Shama Sundar, Guru Das, they would have already left for England by that time.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So
I didn't go to the temple. I just, I lived in like Silicon Valley. I would drive up to Berkeley, or I'd drive to San Francisco and then just drive back.
What were you doing at that time when you met the devotees?
I would go to the bookstores and just look at all the books on metaphysics, on yoga.
And so did you decide to move into the Berkeley Temple, or was it San Francisco Temple at that time? San Francisco, Frederick Street, I guess.
No, I never went to the temple.
Oh, okay.
But I had in our town called Los Altos, near Mountain View, our little kind of news store had the Back to Godhead magazine for sale, so I bought them twice, and I was reading Back to Godhead.
Interesting point. That's a good reminder now that we should still be marketing our Back to Godhead magazines in the stores.
Yeah, that's what got me.
Yeah, me too. The first one I think I saw when I first came at the end of 75, which was much later than you, was the beautiful cover of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Jarikhanda forest with all the animals around him. Very pleasing, very aesthetic. I think that the artwork in Prabhupada's book in itself had a big impact on many of us. So,
yeah, and the
yes,
pictures were worth 1,000 words.
that's right. So, okay, so you didn't visit the Berkeley or the San Francisco temple initially.
No. And I saw the devotees doing kirtan and preaching. The first time I saw them preach was at an art show in San Francisco. So
This
I saw
was
them
after-
3 times.
Oh, okay.
I saw them in Berkeley. I saw the devotees chanting in Berkeley without devotees and saris. I saw a devotee who gave him the mantra card, and then I saw the devotees chanting and preaching at an art show in San Francisco.
Oh, okay. Did they have art themselves set up? I'm just wondering what was their
No,
venue?
it was an event, some comedy event with all the kind of hippie art that was coming out of San Francisco.
Okay. And somehow or other, the devotees were invited to provide music and maybe prasadam or whatever. Your screen froze. I hope it will unfreeze. Seems that the connection is not so great. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I heard your voice for a second. I hope it will come back soon. We're just getting warmed up here, hearing about your early days, meeting the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Oh, now you disappeared. Yeah, this is a photo 1970 with just above my pen here. That's Upananda Prabhu. And this is already in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia. So I guess I'll have to terminate this and see if we can come back and do part 2. I apologize. Oh, good. You're back, Jai. Technical difficulties. I can't hear your voice. You're muted right now. No sound coming from you. But thank you for coming back, Jai.
All right.
Okay, great. Yeah, so you were at this. You attended this art show, and the devotees happened to be there chanting.
Right.
So in other words, we were very much a part of the ambient culture at that time.
I don't know about that, but we're definitely, they were, and we are opportunists. Where there's an opportunity to preach, we take advantage of it.
Right. It sounded like the devotees are fairly integrated with the scene, that we could just, show up at an art showing and fit in.
Or stick out.
Or stick out. Right. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that the organizers were cool enough, were relaxed enough that, oh yeah, let the Hare Krishnas in, let them do their thing.
Yeah, they were, not right in the middle of everything. They were kind of on the outside. So it didn't bother people.
Right. So what was the first temple you actually visited then?
Sydney, Australia.
So you left your home, I guess, there in Silicon Valley, and you decided to go to see the world, be a world traveler.
Right.
And so did you first arrive in Melbourne, or where did you arrive?
No, I arrived in Sydney.
Uh-huh.
And I moved Actually, I started traveling in a car I bought for cheap, but it broke down. And on my way to up north to Queensland. And then I was hitchhiking, but nobody would pick me up going north. And I thought, well, maybe God wants me to go south. So I went up, I crossed the road, and the first car that came down the road stopped and asked, where do I want to go? Now, I didn't know, so I said, well, Sydney. He says, yeah, I'm going to Sydney, so I'll give you a ride.
Cool.
So I went all the way back to Sydney.
What inspired you to go to Australia, of all places in the world?
It was like, the saying, the less traveled path. Everybody was going to Europe, and I thought I should do something different. Let me go in the other direction. So I went to Australia and New Zealand.
The road
After
less
Hawaii.
traveled.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Australia, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Okay, so first you touched down and you arrived, and then you shortly, the person drove you to Sydney and you met the devotees in Sydney?
Yeah, my little apartment, which I started renting, was just like 2 or 3 doors away from the temple.
Wow.
Which they had just started, I guess, a few weeks prior. And Upendra was walking up down the road. I was walking up the road, Darlinghurst Road, and he just said, Hare Krishna. He wasn't dressed in a dhoti or anything, but, I recognized the words. And I said, oh, Hare Krishna. And he invited me for lunch. That was the beginning.
And I heard he is a very good cook. Was he the one that cooked the lunch?
Yeah, he was an excellent cook. And every day he'd have something new to try. And I got addicted real soon.
So do you remember who some of those devotees were when you met Upendra at the new temple?
It was just him. And
was it sort of a storefront?
No, it was it's kind of a strange house. It was on a cliff overlooking the park called Domain Park. And he had a small temple room, and then they had the room next door where they give a lecture. So it was basically just Bali Mardan and Upendra.
Oh.
And after about 2 weeks, they asked me if I wanted to move in, and I said, yeah. So I moved in, and then another 2 weeks, they said, would you want to get initiated? I said, sure.
Wow.
So they wrote a letter to Prabhupada, and a month later, I got a reply.
Wow. I've never seen any memories of Bali Mardan Prabhu. I've only read about him in the books. What was he like? Was he, I imagine he must have been quite a strong preacher to go out there and pioneer.
Yeah, he was definitely a pioneer, but his personality was a little rough. So
okay.
He always said, well, I'm from New York. I'm sorry.
And Upendra, he was much more mild, right?
Oh, yeah. He was the soft touch, love and affection.
Uh-huh.
So he really made most of the devotees. A lot of devotees joined him, and particularly Bondi Beach when we went there. But many other devotees joined, but Upendra was the real preaching force, especially when his wife came. So, and of course, Back to Godhead was our main
backbone
of the preaching. And so we would just go down to the downtown and distribute those and do kirtan. And Kurma the cook joined also.
Oh, at that time?
Yeah.
1970, are we talking?
Yeah, 70, 71 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And he was our first madranga player, besides Upendra. Upendra played the drum, but he wasn't always on Harinams, but Kurma loved Harinam. He would do a lot of the chanting.
So were many joining at that time? Several coming?
Yeah. We had a lot of people join. Vegavan, who was later, he was married in Bombay and brought to Australia. So he and his wife were there for a while.
Originally
And,
from Sweden originally, I believe.
right, Swedish, and they translated the Bhagavad Gita. And then Chiru and his wife, Bhai Bobby, also joined in Bondi Beach.
Wow. Did Ajit come?
Yeah, Ajit also joined, and he got married to an Australian,
Krishna Premi Devidasi.
Krishna Premi, right? Mhm.
And so you were Bhakta what at the time? Or you were initiated already.
Yeah, I got a letter in February 1970, so I was Upananda Das.
Uh-huh. If you don't mind me asking, what was your background, Maharaj? What was your mom and dad like? What were they into, or what type of background did they come from?
My father was a pilot for Pan American.
Uh-huh.
My mother was a housewife,
Right.
And they never fought.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So it was kind of a peaceful house.
Mm-hmm. Prabhupada said the son takes the qualities of the mother. So does that mean that your mother had a spiritual inclination?
Her mother was a very strong Catholic.
Uh-huh.
But because my father didn't have any belief in God, basically, she stopped going to church.
I see. Well, he must have believed in something to carry a Pan American jetliner through the skies. My God, it's a big responsibility.
Yeah, I asked him one time, I thought maybe he must believe somehow God is there. But I said, well, what happens when you're flying and you get into trouble? I mean, what do you do?
Right.
I thought, and he said, well, I just concentrate more.
Okay.
On the instruments.
Right. Okay, so here you are, Upananda Das, Brahmachari, and all these devotees are joining. You're going on Harinam. It sounds like this Bandai Beach was like kind of like Goa, like a place, like where a lot of the hippies join or hang out in India. Bandai Beach sounds like maybe a kind of a hub where a lot of hip type people were coming and they were receptive to the devotees. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, the word got out, but we would also go downtown. So people in the city also came out to Bondi Beach. But it was one of the more famous places to be in Sydney, especially in the summer.
Tourist attraction, tourist traffic.
Yeah. And of course, the cities in Australia were always packed. Sydney, Melbourne, anywhere, all day and night. So there was no lack of customers. And
lots of people coming back for prasad.
Yeah, they loved prasadam. And Upanda in Bali was also cooking mostly sweet balls, but he also knew how to cook kachoris, and he made them for Prabhupada when Prabhupada came there.
Wow. So a lot of sweet balls going out on Harinam?
We actually developed a really good burfi.
Oh.
We had a carob burfi that was a hit. Vanilla burfi, carob burfi. And people were just amazed, So.
Got him by the tongue.
I think Prabhupada said you can make Australia Krishna conscious just by prasadam distribution.
You can spread Krishna consciousness, or you can get people to take it up.
You can make Australia Krishna conscious just by prasadam.
Wow. Wow. Great instruction. Reminds me of a similar instruction Prabhupada gave about Amsterdam, that the people aren't going to come for philosophy so much, but they'll come for prasadam.
Yeah,
Um,
basically,
so,
yeah, the
yeah, so
same in Australia.
this photo that I dug up, it says October 10th, 1970. So you must have only joined some months before this, and you were already some marriages being arranged.
Yeah, well, Prabhupada came to that, let's see,
When did Prabhupada come first time?
I think it was June 1971.
Oh, okay. So about a year after this, then. Almost.
But when he came, he asked who married Upananda. And the president was Tirthapad.
Okay.
Tirthapad said, I did. And then Prabhupada said, well, why did you do that? It's not, he's my disciple, not yours.
Wow. Wow. Well, Prabhupada
So
had a plan. Yes, go on, sorry.
yeah, so I knew it wasn't meant to be. So when we moved to Melbourne, then my wife, there was so many ghosts in the temple, she got possessed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I told her, you better go home. So she left. I said, give her ticket back home. And so from then on, I was brahmachari.
What was her name?
Ahalya.
Ahalya. And okay. I hope she came back to Krishna consciousness later. I don't know.
She remarried Samkarmi, and I only heard one thing. The devotees told me, yeah, we meet your old wife sometimes in the street, and she always gives donations.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So she's favorable. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is Tirthapad playing the mridanga in this picture here?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he left.
Oh.
He and a person opposite him in the picture had a conflict of personalities. And Tirthapad resigned his position as president and then took a job in a brewery.
And sorry, I missed the last part.
He resigned from the presidency and then took a job in a local brewery.
Oh, okay, I see. Well, I hope he meets the devotees sometime too.
Yeah, he was very inspirational, very serious, a good singer. But I don't know, it just was too stressful for him, I guess. I don't know.
It's interesting to hear that Prabhupada said, why you've arranged his marriage. He's my disciple, not yours, which leads me to think that perhaps a lot of arranged marriages were not necessarily arranged by Srila Prabhupada. He didn't necessarily agree.
All right. No, the guru has to be consulted before you marry his disciple.
Yet we know that Prabhupada invested a lot of faith in his temple. Like they were like proxy to him. They were his representatives, right?
Sure. But marriage, somebody who was inclined more towards brahmachari life, it's like a fall down, you know?
Yeah, it may not be a compatible situation for them. Yeah. Okay, so that marriage only lasts a few months or a year or something.
Not even a year.
Okay. So your main service, so not we're talking Bondi Beach, is that near Sydney?
Yeah, it's maybe a half-hour bus ride, I guess.
Okay. So your main service was Harinam. You were going out on Harinam?
Yeah, Harinam, back to Bhagavad distribution.
Uh-huh.
And then later I did some cooking. And then later I was in charge in Melbourne for a while in the beginning.
Okay, so wait a minute. Excuse me for a second. Before you started serving in Melbourne, did Srila Prabhupada come to Sydney first, and then you went to Melbourne?
Yeah,
Okay. Did you anything stand out for you? And so that was the first time you met Prabhupada, was when he came to Sydney,
right.
June 71, you said.
I believe so.
Okay. So that must have been, well, not must have been, it was amazing.
Of course. It was like from another planet.
What stands out for you from the time that you first met? The Prabhupada obviously was driven in a car, came up to the temple. You were there to greet him, or you went to the airport, I guess.
No, Charu went to the airport
Okay.
and brought Prabhupada to the temple. At that time, the temple was in Paddington, which was a suburb very close to the city. And Prabhupada, got out of the van, and then I bowed down, and he patted on me on the head.
Oh,
And
nice.
then came in. He came inside the temple, and then he wanted to inspect the temple, which had 3 floors. He didn't go upstairs, but he went down to the kitchen, and then we didn't know if he was coming or not coming. It was like yes, no. And then he came, and so we were trying to clean up everything real quickly. So we left the backyard undone because there wasn't enough time to clean it up. But Prabhupada wanted to look at the backyard. So
Is this the backyard? Is this the backyard here, or this is a different location?
That's the backyard of Bondi Beach. But after Bondi Beach, then Charu actually found a very nice place in Paddington, which was right at the bus stop.
Okay.
So Prabhupada came there, and in Paddington, I said, I want to see the backyard. And so we opened the door, and it was just a pile of junk. He said, what? And we apologized. Oh, Prabhupada, we didn't have time. We're sorry. So then he turned around, went back up to the temple, and then we had a talk class, our first class. And he had brought Radha Gopinath deities with him, and also
Oh, wow.
Bhagavan and Parvati. Now,
It's a long time to remember.
yeah, I'm trying to remember if he brought the deities the first trip or the second trip.
Okay. So did Prabhupada speak to you personally, or maybe not? Bali Mardan mostly, or who was president at that time? Was it Charu now the president, and Bali Mardan had gone on to reach?
Charu was the president. Bali Mardan, I think he went traveling. And Upendra was not there either. So it was Charu as a president. And he had removed the deities because he said we were making offenses, and Prabhupada wrote a letter and said, you should not do this, put them back.
Oh, where did he put the deities?
I don't know, but they were Jagannath deities.
I see.
And Jagannath, we know, is very merciful. So
Yes.
Prabhupada said, no, I'll put those deities back on the altar.
You had Jagannath before Gornitai, or you had Panchatattva, I guess, in Jagannath, something like that.
I just remember Jagannath deities.
Okay.
I don't even remember Gornitai.
Because most temples were Guru Garanga to begin with, right? Panchatattva, and then we would add deities to that.
Yeah, I think the only deity we had was Jagannath Subhadra Balaram.
Okay.
And those deities.
Yes. Go on. Sorry.
Anyway, go ahead. You go ahead.
No, you were saying those deities. What?
The president removed, thinking we were too offensive, but Prabhupada wrote in the letter, said, no, you put them back on the altar.
Okay.
Jagannath is very merciful.
How long did Prabhupada stay that first time? A few days, a week?
Almost a week, I think.
Wow. Did he ever go on Harinam with you, or mostly stayed at the temple?
No, he stayed in an apartment we arranged. And I cooked the first day for him. That was it. And he did remark that he liked the Simply Wonderfuls I made, so he told me to make more.
Nice.
So I made them regularly, and we also distributed them in the city.
So milk powder, sweet butter, and icing sugar. I've made them before. Was that you basically were? That was
Right, and we put some raisins, sultanas, small
Uh-huh.
raisins.
Uh-huh.
And the ghee was the best ghee in the world. The powdered
Wow.
milk was the best powdered milk in the world.
Wow.
So they were delicious.
It seems with the rise of the vegan movement, Simply Wonderfuls may have fallen out of vogue or popularity compared to what it was like in our time.
Yeah, we started making coconut honey balls. So we mixed powdered milk, honey, and raisins and walnuts or something. And that was pretty good substitute for those who were health minded.
Coconut honey balls. Yeah.
Well, and coconut, coconut, powdered milk, and honey. And you could add raisins and walnuts if you want for an extra taste.
Sounds pretty intoxicating. You wouldn't need more than one or two of those.
Yeah. And then I used to make luglus,
Oh, lagoos. Yes.
So we would have, the Sunday feasts were quite amazing, but we would have, I would always make the mango lassi and luglus.
I was just talking with Nyasi Maharaj, our godbrother, formerly Sri Govinda Das Prabhu. And he was saying he hasn't had a laglu in years. When I arrived at the Chicago temple, it was Rath Yatra time, July 4th weekend. Prabhupada was there. And I remember my hands being covered with honey and dates and the little droppings of chickpea flour in the ghee fried cashews and ghee and almonds, raisins. They were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used star anise. That was my favorite spice.
Which one?
When I made star anise.
Oh, star anise.
I would blend them up and put them in the luglu mix.
Well, that's a cool idea. I never heard of that before. Did you get that recipe from Revati Nandan or I guess from Upendra?
I think it was my own creation.
Oh, great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Charu Prabhu had now become the president in Paddington, and I guess some devotees were doing preaching in Melbourne. How far is Sydney from Melbourne?
Oh, it must be about 10 hours.
Wow. But it seems that some teams of devotees must have been preaching in Melbourne that you were called to go and be the president.
No. Shrew and I, by Bobby, and some others went to Melbourne and Adelaide on a trip when My Sweet Lord was becoming very popular.
Yeah.
So we were like we were like kind of a rock group. So people were inviting us to sing. And then we came back, and then Upendra and I went to Melbourne to start the temple there.
Upendra went
with me and my wife.
Okay. Nice. So that must have been exciting, starting a new temple from scratch.
Well, it was a little difficult at the beginning like that. Upendra wasn't really so much inclined towards the daily Harina, the daily preaching. He liked a crowd, so if there was a crowd, he would love to speak.
Okay.
And in Sydney, he would stand up on a crate and many people would come, he was just a star of the show.
Wow.
He had a gift for speaking.
Nice.
And for kirtan, after the speaking and we finished, he would lead like a Pied Piper, all these people up to the temple.
Wow. So now it required a lot of outreach work in Melbourne, and he was a little bit more, he wasn't so much the type to go out and meet them.
Yeah.
He didn't use his crate there. That would have been. There was not. I don't know. Maybe it was different.
Melbourne was a place where we had problems with the city council,
Oh,
and we had to go to jail. Went to jail.
wow.
Many devotees, including Kurma, and we finally got enough public support to change the status or whatever it was that allowed us to come on the streets and distribute books.
So Kurma came with you also. Later, he followed.
Yeah, he got thrown in jail, and there was a big picture of him.
Oh, I saw the police carrying him.
Yeah.
So Kurma was cooking, you were cooking, Upendra was cooking, and you and Kurma and your former wife were all going on Harinam.
Well, with the others, this is later. Melbourne developed very rapidly. So we had a number of people. There was one devotee, Sanak, who was from Greece.
Oh, yes.
Jaya Dharma, who was from Melbourne. Dwaipiana, who was like a rock and roll guitar player who joined and led the Harinams with his guitar. And then Audrey married Dwaipiana. When Prabhupada came, he did a marriage. Then Prabhupada brought Radha Ballabha to Melbourne and installed those deities.
Okay, so this was around 72, 73?
Yeah, 71, 70, 72, Prabhupada came for the first time to Melbourne.
Wow, did you all go to meet him at the airport? Or he came, someone drove him?
To tell you the truth, I can't even remember. I think somebody drove him.
And okay.
But Hanuman, the French Hanuman from Montreal, he was there.
He did my Brahminical initiation, Hanuman. Yes, he was there?
Oh, yeah, he was there. But Prabhupada told him, your devotional service is very crude.
Okay. What did he mean by that? Was it with reference to something, or?
He was a heavy guy.
Yeah.
When we did Harinams, he was the first one that actually started collections in Harinam. We sold a few magazines in Harinam before, but we had to get money to bring Prabhupada to Melbourne, so all the ladies were given baskets, and he was, pushing people to give money, and even putting his hand in their pocket to see what they had.
Wow, he was bold. Very
bold. He was like a bulldog.
Putting his hand in people's pockets. I've never heard anybody that bold.
Yeah, he was very bold.
For Prabhupada. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, so Dvaipayana Prabhu, he's in our Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, Srila Prabhupada's disciples, my godbrothers and godsisters group. I've been in touch with him. Sanak Prabhu lives in Greece. I think he's a horse trainer. And Hanuman, I don't know where he is now. Okay, so all right, so the Melbourne yatra was growing. And did you have deities yet, or?
Yeah, Prabhupada brought Radha Ballabha from India.
Okay.
And they're beautiful deities, really beautiful. So
when Prabhupada first visit in Melbourne, he brought deities with him.
Yeah. So we had the installation and then the initiation. Although he postponed the initiation until we cleaned the kitchen. The kitchen was such a mess. So Prabhupada said, I'm not doing initiation until you clean the kitchen.
Had Deepak joined at that time? Because I heard that Kurma learned some cooking from Deepak.
Yeah, he had come to Sydney in 71.
Okay.
So he was the main pujari in Sydney with Radha Gopinath, and he trained up Kurma.
Okay.
And then he married a German girl named Nandarani or something.
Okay. And and did Sabapati join early too? I heard he was a pioneer, Sabapati.
Subhabati, he came later, yeah, he came later
Okay.
to Melbourne, I think. I can't remember.
How long were you president in Melbourne for?
Until Prabhupada came, and then Hanuman Swami said, I'm taking over the presidency.
Okay.
I said, all right, you're the Maharaj. But we both worked together on the poster. And this poster, there were a lot of posters on the street in Melbourne where there was construction going on or something. So we made this big, bright red poster with Prabhupada's picture saying, Jagat Guru comes to Australia or Melbourne on April 7th, 1972. And the program was at the town hall. So we put that poster up everywhere at night. We covered up the pictures of Guru Maharaji, who had posters also on the street. And it was a very well-intended lecture at the town hall.
Okay. Yes, yes, Shamasundar was there?
Shamasundar was there, Nanda Kishore.
Nice. Did Madhudvisa come?
Yeah. He came, I think 72, yeah.
Okay. Around that time.
Yeah, he organized dramas which we would put on, and then he kind of ousted, who was the person with the red hair, the devotee who started the school in Dallas?
Oh, that wasn't Kushakrata, was it Kulashekar? No. I know Bhakti Rupa was there. And Madan.
He was married.
Mohananda.
Yeah.
Mohan Ananda.
Yeah, so Mohananda was like the big leader of Australia until Madhavisa came. When Madhavisa came, Mohananda kind of bowed out.
Okay.
But he was very dynamic. Mohananda bought the first printing press in Sydney. He started the incense spiritual sky business with Chayadharma. And he was a real trooper. He would be taking other devotees out many times at late night doing Harinam.
Is he still alive? Mohanananda?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it'd be great if we could reach him. So, okay, then so Hanuman Swami took over, and what he took over from Mohanananda. Is that correct?
No. He took over from me.
From you?
In Melbourne. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mohananda. Mohanananda was basically in Sydney, running the whole Melbourne and Sydney. And then Madhavisa showed up, and there was a kind of a clash, and then Madhavisa kind of took over, and then Mohananda kind of disappeared. I don't know. I guess he went back to America.
Yeah, I've Revati Nandan Prabhu, I talked to him for 5 hours. I wish I could have recorded it, but he told me he had a similar, he was going up and down the coast of Great Britain, and he said he made dozens and dozens of devotees, or maybe even 100 devotees or more. But when Hangsadutta Prabhu came to be the new GBC, Revati Nandan said that Hangsadutta said, look, you're a preacher, I'm a preacher, you lead Kirtan, I lead Kirtan. There's no need for both of us to be here. basically telling him to hit the road. And Revatinandan Prabhu was so happy about that. Unfortunately, he departed recently. Okay, so when you were involuntarily relieved of your service as president in Melbourne, did you continue to stay for some time, or you went elsewhere?
Yeah, because Hanuman was here today, gone tomorrow.
Oh,
So he, I think he went to Malaysia,
okay.
and he went, and
Mogalila.
Moga Das joined him in Malaysia.
Oh,
So they're in Malaysia, and they received Prabhupada there. So I continued in Melbourne till 73, and then 74, Chiru, after having developed Brisbane, wanted to leave and do something else. So I took over the Brisbane temple, which was right downtown in Brisbane. And it was like, I think $600 a month for like a 3-story house, right, 3 or 4 blocks from the main city square. I couldn't believe it.
wow. Ideal location.
Yeah, we had a lot of wonderful programs, and then the person in charge of the Guru Maharaji people said their leader told them that they could no longer go to the temple because they would come to the temple every Sunday for the feast.
And we'd make them devotees.
Yeah. And the Maharishi also said something to his followers not to go to the ISKCON temple because we were poisoning his disciples.
Uh-oh. Actually, we were giving them transcendental knowledge and real transcendental meditation, and not the kind that you have to pay for a mantra.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of, especially the younger devotees, they wouldn't know who Guru Maharaji was. I remember before I met the devotees in 75, a few years before that, I would meet the followers of this so-called Guru Maharaji. Prabhupada called them Bal Yogi. And I would see photographs in their magazine. They called themselves Premis. And this Guru Maharaji was dressed with a mukut, like with a Krishna crown on his head. And you'd see him with a circle of women in saris doing Rasa Leela. And I didn't know what any of that was, but of course, Prabhupada explained to us this is all Sahaja nonsense.
He came to Fiji, devotees told me, and he hired out the main convention center and told all the people that, he's going to have a big chest on stage, and that if they want blessings, they have to bring gold and put it in the box. So
Wow.
all the ladies came and took off their bangles and threw it in the box. And then when the box filled up, he was sitting on a swing. When the box was filled up, then he told his servant, close the box, and then he left, got in the car and left.
Professional Gunda. Yeah.
Cheater.
Wow. So, okay, now you're in Brisbane. What was the difference of the vibe between Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane? Were the similar cities all similar, or did Brisbane have a different kind of mood? I mean, I know you were central downtown, so that's ideal.
Yeah, Brisbane had a great climate. Melbourne was always cold. Sydney was half cold, half warm. And Brisbane was pretty much temperate all the time.
Wow.
But the police there were really heavy, so.
Oh. More obstacles.
Yeah.
More police problems.
All right. But still, we continue. We did Harinam nonetheless, and did a lot of book distribution. And did a lot of incense distribution. We would travel in a van to just take incense with us and sell the incense to get gas.
I was trained in Chicago that the incense was an icebreaker. You offer people a stick of incense, and then you could ask them for a donation, give them a Back to Godhead magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So did they start using this double-decker bus yet at that time, or that was later?
That was in Melbourne. Oh, no, that was in Sydney. Mohananda, he was the one about the bus.
Oh,
And painted Hare Krishna, the positive alternative, on the side.
nice. That must have been exciting.
Yeah, it was an amazing publicity vehicle.
Kind of like Australia's version of Radha Damodar traveling Sankirtan party. Kind of
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure the drivers had a headache trying to park that thing every day.
God.
And then Hari Sori, I think one day he turned it over on a sharp turn.
Oh no.
Yeah. But it was a relic.
What, the whole thing tipped over?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Somebody
Oh
told
my
me.
God. Probably something Hari Sari Prabhu would prefer not to remember.
Right.
Where did he join?
Yeah. He
Sydney
joined
or-
in Melbourne. He joined
Melbourne.
in Melbourne.
Were you there?
He was
when he
like-
joined?
Yeah, we know each other. He would wake devotees up from Mangalarti, and they used to call him Heavy Hari.
Was he sounds like he was fired up right from the very beginning.
Yeah. He was a heavy Hari. One day there was somebody coming down the alley. We had a little store downtown Melbourne, and this guy was starting to yell like abuse, and Hari Sori ducked him.
He was yelling abuse?
Yeah. You can ask Hari Sori, he'll tell you.
Okay. Yeah, so so now you're pioneering the Brisbane temple. What, did you start it from scratch, or you had a whole crew of devotees?
No, Chiru was there for about a year, I think.
Okay. So he created
So
the
there's-
foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a crew, and more people came, and then we had a style. One devotee, Pandu, joined, who was a Mensa Society scholar.
Pandu.
So he would-
Pandu would,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
yeah, and he would give classes. Not even 1 hour, 2 hours, even more,
Wow.
with all the books and references to the books.
Wow.
And then we had incorporated electronic kirtan with drums and electronic guitars. And we had a makeshift restaurant. We didn't really charge, but we had 2 amazing cooks that used a lot of sour cream. But people, famous people started coming to the temple. And when the Balls of Bengal came to sing at the university, they came over and took prasadam with us. But here's the interesting thing that happened. Buddhimanta had come to train up people for distributing books.
Right.
So I went to Sydney to kind of be part of the parampara from him. And while I was gone, Purandar from the Siddha Sarup group in Hawaii came to Brisbane and started preaching Raganuga Bhakti, Siddha Sarup's version of Raganuga Bhakti.
Okay.
And when I came back, the devotees were not wearing any more saris or dhotis. They weren't getting up from Mangalarti. Started playing more rock and roll music in the temple. And I said, what's going on here? They said, oh, we're going to do Raganuga. We don't want to be artificial and just, externally put the symbols on without having the heart of a devotee. So the more important to be a devotee in your heart than just wearing all the external dress. So
Sort of like early Krishna West philosophy, kind of.
maybe, but it was all Sahaja, and they wanted to make anyway, they all left. They all got married and left. Purushottam was there. I don't know if you know Purushottam.
Yes,
He's a
Prabhupada
Jap-
said, what he was saying, Prabhupada, look, in England, they're landing on the moon. Prabhupada said, no, they have never gone to the moon. The moon's further than the sun. But Purushottam was, no, he was insisting.
No,
And
no,
then
no,
after
no,
that,
no.
huh,
That's a
this is
different Purushottam.
oh,
He's a
okay,
Japanese
oh,
American.
okay,
So he still is with Siddha Swarup, but
okay.
he was a president. Oh, no, he took over the presidency when I left, and then they all left, and the only one, Buddhimanta came up from Sydney, and the only one we could say was Gopinath Acharya, who was, very shy, but when he got trained by Buddhimanta, he became like a ferocious tiger on the street,
Wow.
and he was just so.
I wanted to ask you about him because he helped to pioneer the full set distribution. I remember the newsletters, but please continue.
So he was like a terror on the streets. Nobody could walk by him without getting a book.
Wow.
But he was the only one we saved, and it was a shame. So we just closed the temple, and I went back to Melbourne. And when I got to Melbourne, Madhavisa Swami was there, and I told him, "I'm sorry, Maharaj. We lost the whole temple," and
Wow.
I thought he was going to get angry. He didn't get angry. He said, "Well, look, here's a letter I got from Prabhupada. He wants 3 devotees to go to the Fiji Islands." I said, "Oh, okay, I'll go." So I went, and Sajjan Nasraya, who was Italian, and Asta City, who was Gujarati. We all went to the Fiji Islands and helped start the temple there.
What was that like? Because there's a lot of Gujaratis there, right? A lot of people from India, the second generation. And
Yeah, the Gujaratis were all the shopkeepers, duty-free shopkeepers, and the farmers were all Indians. And of course, there was the regular Fijians.
what year was this now? 74? 75?
70, end of 74, beginning of 75. And I stopped off in New Zealand before I went to Fiji.
Okay. How long were you there for?
Just about a month or 2.
And was there any Krishna consciousness there already, or you helped to establish
Yeah,
that?
one very nice devotee who partnered with Siddha Swarup. They were like the tag team, Siddha Swarup and
Tushta Krishna?
Tushta Krishna.
Yeah.
So they were both into, karate and all this stuff, and riding on motorcycles with their dandas. But Tushta Krishna
Swamis that were into karate and driving their motorcycles with dandas.
Yeah. And then being guru, I met Tushta when he came to Fiji, and he said, "Yeah, I'm guru, and then my disciples will become guru after me." But I heard he was one of the first devotees to use cell phones, and he used the cell phone so much he got cancer of the brain and then died.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's very dangerous keeping the cell phone to the head. I never do.
But Prabhupada liked Tushta Krishna a lot, and he wanted to kind of incorporate him and put him into an inner circle. But Tushta was, I think, backing off. And when he got with Siddha Swarup, then he was kind of out of the loop.
Uh-huh. He didn't come from Hawaii with Siddha Swarup, Tushta Krishna? He was from New Zealand? He was actually local?
He's American.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there was Tushta Krishna was already there in New Zealand. He and a few others.
He had left. I don't know where, but anyway, he had left, I think, for Siddha Swarup. Okay. And then, we started with some of the local New Zealanders. And it was a nice temple, a nice building. And we would chant on, I think it was Queen Street, Auckland, every day.
Was that the first one? Auckland was the first temple?
Yeah, first temple.
Okay.
And then the one day we didn't chant on the main street of Queensland, Auckland, we got arrested by the police because somebody complained. And I got taken to jail.
Oh,
And then I got, what do you call it? Framed. I got framed by the police. They put marijuana in my bead bag.
oh,
And they said, "Oh, look, we found this in his purse."
nasty.
So I had to go to court. And the judge said, "Well, what are you doing with this marijuana?" I said, "I don't know how I got there, Judge. I don't smoke." So the judge said, "All right, well, we'll come back at 2:00 and I'll give my verdict."
Okay.
So at 2:00 we came back and he opened up the big book and he said, "Well, we had a lady here also who didn't know how this marijuana got into her purse." So I said, "All right, we'll let you off this time." So the same thing, if you don't know how you got in your little bag there, then we'll let you off this time.
Huh.
So I got off, and that's when I went to Fiji.
What devotees were in Auckland at that time? Do you remember any of them besides Tushta Krishna?
Yeah, I was with Sajjan Ashraya. He was another guitar player, and we would play the kirtans with the guitar. And then one American girl was a pujari. I can't remember her name. Sweet little girl.
Okay.
I saw her actually in, I think it was in Mayapura. They had a memorial for Bhakti Tirtha. I think she was there. But anyway, yeah, they had a few devotees and a lot of gas on Sunday. It was a nice place, Auckland.
Have they ever invited you to go back there? Has the Sydney Temple, Melbourne Temple, Brisbane Temple, Auckland Temple, have they, as one of the earliest pioneers, have they ever invited you to go back and address the
No, because they all know I went to Narayan Maharaja.
Wow.
Therefore, they consider me persona non grata.
Wow, that sounds really fanatical. Sounds very ungrateful also.
Well, not all, because I did go back there, I met Kurma again, I met Dwaipiana again, Chitahari.
And you'll always be best of buddies. You'll always be best friends.
Right. But that was, the higher ups, they give the verdict and then you're blackballed.
Right. That's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem is there's neophytes on both sides. For instance, if there's neophytes in Srila Narayan Maharaj's camp, then they may fanatically preach, "Oh, there's no Uttama Adhikaris in ISKCON. You got to come over to our side." So that obviously doesn't create a very good relationship between the two.
Well, it's not so much you have to come over our side. It's that you have to hear from a pure devotee.
Right.
Prabhupada said, if the Madhyams don't hear from our Uttam, they don't make any advancement.
Right.
So we had Prabhupada's own words that you need to hear from the Uttamadhikari.
Correct.
And unfortunately, again, the higher ups said that anybody who leaves to see Narayan Maharaj will not be allowed back in ISKCON.
That's right. That's right. I actually wanted to go on the Vraj Mandala Parikram with Srila Narayan Maharaj because I asked Dinabandhu Prabhu one day, I said, "Prabhu, I remember there used to be a lot more people, or I seem to remember more people on your parikrams in the past, but I don't see a lot of them on your parikram now." And he said, "Oh, that's because Srila Narayan Maharaj leads the best Rajmandala parikrams and everyone's on his." And I thought, wow, if Dinabandhu Prabhu, who's kind of like the parikramacharya for ISKCON in Vrindavan, and he's saying that Srila Narayan Maharaj's are the best, because I heard that Srila Narayan Maharaj did 50 years of Brajmandala Parikram. So he's got it down, obviously. But ISKCON authorities were worried because I wrote a letter to Jayadvaita Swami one time asking him, I said, I was at the Krishna Balaram Mandir in 1989 when Srila Narayan Maharaj came up to the mic. And he said, "So today is the grand opening of the Rup Sanatan Gaudiya Math near Seva Kunj. All ISKCON devotees are invited. This was just after Tulsi Puja. And I asked Dina Bandhu, I said, are you going? He said, yeah, I'm going. I said, can I go with you? And he said, yeah, let's go. So we went there to take prasadam, and Srila Narayan Maharaj was coming down the line with a big bucket of prasad and a long spoon, and some brahmachari was carrying it. And he personally served me, and my heart was touched. I thought, he should be sitting down. I should be serving him prasadam. He's Prabhupada's old friend. But then I was told, no, in the Gaudiya Math, the most senior devotees, they're the ones that are serving prasadam to everyone. I thought, well, I wonder why we don't see that in ISKCON so much, I mean, it wasn't so common there, but that's the standard in the Gaudiya Math temple. But the point that Jayadvaita Maharaj made to me is that he said, I have a lot of affection for Srila Narayan Maharaj. We go way back before all the politics started hitting the fan. But he said that ISKCON has lost a lot of money and manpower to the Narayan Maharaj Sangha. And he said, so there's pros and cons. And so I wrote a letter to Srila Narayan Maharaj, and I didn't mention Jayadvaita Maharaj's name, but I just said, I've been told that ISKCON is reluctant to have their devotees come to you because you'll take their money and manpower. And he said, I am not interested in their money and I only want to give bhakti. So okay, so now you arrived in Fiji. Did you meet Vasudev Prabhu? This is 75 now? 74, 75?
Yeah, 75, 76, 77.
So when you adventure, were you the first ISKCON devotees in Fiji? Or no, maybe Bali Mardan went just before you.
Actually, I don't know about Bali, but Upendra had gone there a few years before with his wife.
Okay.
And they were in the capital, Suva, and they were a hit. They were the first ones to do Harinam in the streets. And they got a lot of attention and a lot of attraction. And,
I bet, because there was so many Indian people there, right? What percentage of the population is Indian in Fiji? Half or more?
Well, it was more than half then. Now it's probably less because a lot of them, there was a military coup.
Oh.
And it became kind of disturbing for a lot of people. So they applied for residency in Australia and New Zealand, and then they moved.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long were you there for?
Probably off and on 5 years.
Wow. So were you there when Prabhupada first arrived?
Yeah.
Were you the first to meet Vasudev, or Upendra had already met him?
The first one to meet Vasudev was a Sri Sarup follower.
Oh.
Vijay.
Okay.
Vijay was his name, and he didn't really like staying in temples, so he just kind of had a van, which the temple paid for, but he just traveled around. And the amazing thing is, he played guitar, and he would stay in the Fijian villages.
Oh, nice.
And he would teach the Fijians in the villages to chant the Maha Mantra.
Nice.
Not knowing what it was, and liking the tunes he had.
Okay.
And all around the island, there's maybe 1,000 miles around the island, but maybe 500 miles.
Okay.
Every village knew Hare Krishna because of him.
Wow. So it's not like if you play a guitar and sing Hare Krishna, you're in Maya.
Right. And he was very friendly. He liked the native Fijians.
Uh-huh. Wow. Great service he did.
Yeah, really.
He kind of paved the way for you.
Well, as far as the Fijians go, but we mostly went to the Indians, to tell you the truth. We went to the Fijians every now and then, but we had put more interest into the Indians who already knew something about Krishna. And usually after the Sunday feast, we'd take the prasadam to the Fijian villages, and they would love the prasadam. It was free. But we, South Indians were the farmers, so we made a lot of friends with them. And we would stay with them. We'd travel and go village to village and stay in the villages with them. Prabhupada wrote us a letter and said, I don't want you taking prasadam from people who are meat eaters.
Uh-huh.
Because actually you can't offer it. It's cooked by meat eaters.
Right.
So then we had to kind of abandon a lot of that village to village, living in the villages and moving around. So then
So
we
that
started
was
going.
you? Sorry, that was you and Upendra?
No, me and Asta City and Sajjan Ashraya.
Okay.
There's a few others.
Are they still alive? Do you know?
I don't know about Sajjan Ashraya. I wrote him. I don't get any response anymore.
Okay.
And Asta City, he moved to Auckland. I saw him when I went there.
Okay.
He was married to a girl when he was in the Melbourne temple, but they separated and he married somebody else, I think.
Uh-huh. So okay. So Vasudeva was already cultivated, and what year did Prabhupada come?
He came, would have been 75.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. 75. They opened the temple in 76.
Krishna Kaliya, special deities.
Right. And Prabhupada actually came there before I arrived there. He had met just in a transit lounge, Vasudeva, his wives, and
Oh.
Vijay. Yeah.
Oh. Uh-huh.
So I was at that meeting in the transit lounge, and Prabhupada requested Vasudeva to build a temple.
Wow.
Yeah, in Fiji.
So when you were there, did you hear anything about the Kaliya serpent residing there? Did that what the locals knew about him?
Yeah. So I went to find him, and they told me where he was living. So early in the morning, I went climbing this big mountain with one other South Indian devotee. And it took us like 3 hours maybe to climb to the top. And we couldn't find any evidence of Kaliya. So we came back down, and then this one other South Indian said, no, I've been to that cave on top of the mountain, and the hurricane, spoiled that cave and closed it. So the Kaliya has gone somewhere else.
Huh.
So then this was in a place called Tavua. So when I left Tavua and went to Lautoka, where our temple was, then the next morning when I went to the town, there was a Fijian in the back of this one store, with a bushy Sai Baba hairdo.
Right.
And said, oh, you're a devotee of Krishna. I said, yeah. He said, well, you can see Kaliya. I'll take you to him. It's like reading my mind, And I said, oh, great, let's go. He says, yeah, he's in this island off the coast where I live, and he's living in a cave there. Okay, so he said, you can meet me at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we'll get in my boat, and I'll show you. So I was really excited, and I couldn't even sleep at night. Like, God, what if I see the Kaliya?
Yeah.
Could not sleep. I was so much in anxiety. So I went down to the dock, and he wasn't there, and I was waiting, and he never showed up. And they all look alike, so I couldn't figure out how I would find him again. So I just gave up, and that was it. So according to him, there's an island off of Lautoka where Kaliya stays, or did stay. I don't think he's there anymore, but that was his version. And there's a lot of history. People told me about sailors who saw the serpent. And this and that.
After 5,000 years, I don't know if you'd still be alive.
Yeah, right. Probably he had Krishna's foot dust on his head, so.
That's true. That's pretty special. Huh. So anything stand out for you with Srila Prabhupada in Fiji?
And yeah, I asked him on the morning walk, I said, is Kalia living here? And then he turned and said, was there any poisonous creatures here? I said, no, there's no poisonous snakes or anything, only mosquitoes. So he seemed to, it wasn't really a direct answer. He seemed to just kind of move his head like, yeah, he may be here. And then he would, there are 5 Pandavas, 5 sons of Kunti, where there are 5 brothers, including Vasudeva, in the Punja family. And Prabhupada went to each house, did a program, and took prasadam. And he loved Gujarati cooking. And he loved this dudpak, which was sweet rice, real thin sweet rice. But he ate like 5 bowls at Harry Punja's house. And Harry Punja was a senator or something in the government. So he was arranging for the prime minister to come and meet Srila Prabhupada. And his name was Ratu Mara or something. And Prabhupada was going to talk to him and a few other ministers. But then there was something urgent about going to Hawaii. So he canceled and went to Hawaii.
Prabhupada must have loved it in Fiji.
Yeah, he did. He actually requested Vasudeva's wives, Yasoda and Bhagwati, to travel the whole world and teach cooking to all the devotees.
Oh. But I don't think they did it, did they?
No. But they would go to India, and when Prabhupada knew they were in India, he would have his wife Bhagwati cook. So one time she went to cook, and she said, bring me some oil. And the devotee said, no, you can't use oil in this kitchen. And she was making a preparation called chura, which is like fried little teeny pieces of potato and.
Oh, like chidwa. Like
chidwa, right?
Yeah, you can put raisins and
raisins and spices, and they went and said, Prabhupada, Bhagwati's in the kitchen. She wants to use oil, not ghee. And Prabhupada said, you let her have whatever she wants.
Jai. Jai Prabhupada. Wonderful. Did Prabhupada have any specific vision for Fiji like he had for Mauritius? Like he said that Mauritius would maybe become the first Krishna conscious country. Did Prabhupada have any special vision for it?
No, Prabhupada said there was 3 countries, Fiji, Mauritius, and Manipur would be the first Krishna conscious countries.
Manipur, I forgot. Fiji, Mauritius, and Manipur. So you lasted almost 5 years there.
Yeah, on and off. I would go back to Australia or sometimes New Zealand. And now because I was married for a few months, I got residency in Australia. So as long as I came back every 3 years, I could keep my residency.
And did you meet Kavi Chandraswami in Fiji?
Yeah, he came to Fiji.
What was that much later, or was that at the time of Kaliya Krishna?
No, that was later.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you lasted 5 years. Was that until Tamal Krishna Maharaj took over the management?
No, he had already taken over. And then Bhavananda took over in Australia.
I see.
So when I went back to Australia, Bhavananda was just having a meeting to explain to devotees, I'm not a pure devotee. And this, sent these shockwaves throughout Australia. And I left. I just, there's so many crazy things going on after Prabhupada disappeared. So I wanted to go somewhere which was just, off the map. So I went. One devotee, Sikhi Puchidari, said, well, Prabhupada, Brahmananda wants devotees to come to Africa. Why don't you go to West Africa? So I said, all right. So I thought I was going to go with him, but he changed his mind. But I got a ticket and I went on a one-way ticket to Nigeria.
What year was this, roughly?
That was 81.
Okay.
March or April 81. It was a
Were you,
appearance.
sorry.
It was the appearance day of Buddha
Oh.
Jayanti.
Were you in Fiji when Prabhupada departed?
Yeah.
Okay. So you went to West Africa. Sorry, go ahead.
Vasudev went after the fact, Prabhupada called him to come to Vrindavan, but he didn't book a ticket until after we heard Prabhupada had left his body, and then he went right away.
Oh.
Yeah.
So whereabouts in West Africa did you land?
In Lagos.
What's that like? Is that in the center, east, west?
It's right on the ocean, on the coast.
And there were devotees there already?
Yeah, Brahmananda made friends with this Indian Gujarati Patel, who had, set up a medical clinic, but there was some problem with the doctor or something. But he told Brahmananda you could take it over and use it for your first temple. So we had,
he did?
Yeah, we had a nice temple. He had a nice temple going. He was a good manager. And the Africans, they worshipped him like their father.
Wow.
So, yeah, he had things happening. So I was incorporated, but it was such a shock to be in a place where there was no water running. And there was mosquitoes that carried malaria.
Wow.
So I thought, well, this is not my place. But I couldn't leave. I told the devotees, because at the airport, I only had a one-way ticket, and they were going to send me back to Australia. But somehow they changed their mind and let me come in. I told them I'd buy a ticket when I got to Lagos. And they gave me 3 weeks in the passport. It said 3 weeks. So I had 3 weeks, and when they went to renew it, I took a pen with the same color ink and I wrote only to make sure they couldn't get another visa. But when they came back, I said, hey, what happened? They said, well, we got to the visa. I said, really? He said, yeah, we just pay them money. In Nigeria, everything is money. But they just paid the fee. And I was there for another year or two.
Oh, wow.
And then I kept going. I was actually there for 10 years.
What were you doing? Was it mostly home programs with the Indians there, or are you doing Harinam also?
We would do a few. I mean, I was in charge of life memberships, so I would collect all the money from the business. There's a lot of businesses in Lagos, and a lot of rich, big, huge businesses, especially the Sindhis, the Gujaratis also. But the Sindhis are really big. So we did, Harinam. The Africans loved Harinam, the West Africans. And, it was totally different. And like the neighbors would come for the artists without even asking. They heard the music and they would all come and join.
Oh, nice.
And downtown too, when you did Harinam, the people love it. They join you and
wow,
dance.
Just in their blood to chant and dance.
Right. So we had a great time doing Harinam there in Nigeria. And Ghana. Ghana was the same way.
Okay, excuse me. You're in Lagos, then you went to Nigeria?
No, Lagos is the capital. Well, not the capital, but it's the biggest city in Nigeria.
I see, excuse me. And then you were saying another state?
There's another state called Ghana, which is a little bit north. And a lot of devotees from Ghana a lot of people from Ghana became devotees. So we went there and started a temple in the capital called Accra.
Was there any tension because of racial issues between white and
none?
None.
Never experienced anything. I couldn't believe it.
Wow. Huh.
They worship white people, especially like they worship you,
Wow. So hospitable.
So it was kind of completely different from America, where, you know, you got this real tension. But
Yeah.
there, they love you, they
Wow.
respect you, and it was wonderful. And
Very nice.
I mean, I was there sometime when we had, sometimes I was alone. I was the only white person, and all the others were the Africans.
Uh-huh.
But they're very good-natured, kind-hearted. So I had a lot of friends,
Wonderful to
and
hear.
I thought it was my home. I used to tell people, ask me, "Where do you live?" I live in Nigeria. Where's your home? Nigeria.
Wow. Bhakti Tirtha Swami had not come there yet, right?
He came just when we had our first problem with the ethnic groups. There's one Igbo tribe that I think they're the ones that do most of the scams on the internet. But they were revolting and claiming Brahmananda was not following, not coming to Mangalarti, blah, blah, blah. So they revolted and wanted to kick out all the white people.
I see.
So Bhakti Tirtha came just at the right time, actually. And he was good. He actually got the keys back from the van, which they stole. And then, you know, kind of defeated their whole revolution. People liked Bhakti Tirtha. And we had, what we did, we called a meeting of all the members. We called all the life members. Maybe we had 200 life members. And we called the president who had taken over, who Brahmananda had put in the office, but who was also from this Igbo tribe. And we called him, and the life members voted to have him ousted. So we said, you have to resign. We don't want you. And he was, you know, not wanting to, but finally he agreed and he resigned. And as soon as he resigned, then the tables turned and we had the temple back under control. And it was Ashram Maharaj, who was Govinda Bhakta then, whose mother was the secretary of the temple.
Oh,
She was also Igbo, which is the same tribe that pulled off the revolution. And she called the meeting. So it was kind of a dynamic meeting. And I remember we served prasadam to everybody before the meeting. So everybody was kind of satisfied with prasadam. And then we had the president, who Brahmananda Swami had kind of put in the office without knowing his real qualities. We finally ousted him, and then everything came back together. And from that point, we just started opening temples one after another. And we had this chief of police become a devotee, we had the chief of customs become devotees. And, you know, they both got bribes, you know, like crazy every day. So they would give money to open more temples. So we opened a temple in Beijing, we opened a temple in Warri, we opened a temple in Port Harcourt, we opened a temple up north in Kano, where the Muslims all are.
wow. This is all over Ghana now?
No, Nigeria.
Nigeria, excuse me.
Yeah,
Okay.
but Nigeria and Ghana are the same. All the Muslims are in the north and all the Christians are basically in the south.
Uh-huh.
But
Was it?
nonetheless,
Yes.
the Muslims did become great devotees.
Really?
Yeah, wonderful devotees.
Wow. Very cool.
Uh-huh.
Huh. You were able to, because I got the impression they can be like really kind of, you know, sectarian in the sense that it's
No,
only.
it is. The Muslims burned down the churches there.
Oh, wow. So how
And
were you able to reach them? What prasadam and kirtan?
yeah, the same basic program. And, you know, they joined. We didn't ask, are you Muslim or Christian? They just joined and we gave them initiation. Well, that time Kirtanananda was giving initiations.
I see. He was there.
He wasn't there, but he came once or twice. He came twice.
Uh-huh. Did Prabhupada come to any of these places? I think he came to Nigeria, right?
No,
No?
he went to South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many years did you spend in Africa?
Like 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
A long time.
Mhm.
Managed to transcend the mosquitoes and the water.
Um, I didn't transcend. I came down malaria about 5 or 6 times.
Wow.
Um,
Were you
One
taking
time
Sorry, go ahead. One time.
we had quinine tablets.
Uh-huh.
Brahmananda used to go just get injections of quinine. And the Africans would just take neem leaves and steam them and just breathe the vapor.
Uh-huh.
So it was terrible. I
Were
remember
there,
one night,
yes, go on. You
one
remember one time?
afternoon, I was reminding myself, be very careful about the mosquitoes. And then I came back to the temple and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, it was getting dark. And I looked around. I said, "Oh my God!" Because we had a mosquito net, so I could cover myself, but it wasn't under the net in time.
Oh, no.
And I thought, "Oh boy, I hope I don't get malaria." And then the next day, 11, 12 o'clock, you could just feel it coming on.
Yeah.
So it's like a week or two out of action, you know.
I heard that ivermectin is effective against malaria.
Yeah, it's a malaria medicine. All the malaria medicine will work for the COVID.
Sure. But Big Pharma doesn't want us to know that because they will make trillions of dollars.
Well, they want you dead.
Ultimately, yes, I agree. Wow. So wow, 10 years. Did you encounter any old Vedic temples in Africa since the Hindus or people from India, many of them became endemic or brought to Africa from India?
There wasn't any temples in Nigeria. When Brahmananda came to Nigeria, the Indians told him, "No, don't make a temple here. These people will sell their mother just to make money." But in Ghana, there was a Swami Krishnananda who had come there from India. So he started a temple, and it's still going today. Very popular, kind of, Mayavad, Pancho Pasanga temple, Pancho
Pachupasana.
Pasana temple.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, I remember when I was in Chicago in 75, 76, different devotees were coming back from Africa. I don't know if Nanda Kumar was there. I think he was sannyas at the time. I don't know if he was in Africa, but I do remember meeting a few godbrothers.
Most of them were in Kenya.
Yeah.
Chayavana Rishi was in Kenya, Brahmananda.
Right.
But Brahmananda told Prabhupada, "I can't make any devotees after 10 years. So Prabhupada then told him to go to the other side.
Okay.
So he went to the West Africa, and that's where it took off.
And South Africa does well too, right? Durban.
Well, with the Indians.
Yeah. But it's not just the Indians, of course. We want to reach the Africans, the native people, the locals.
Yeah, but you won't find hardly any African in the temple in Durban.
In Durban.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So are there hundreds of temples all over Africa?
Mostly Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Ghana. There was one in Cote d'Ivoire, but I don't know if it's still there. And we had one in Sierra Leone, in the capital. And I liked Sierra Leone, actually. It was like you could go to any door and knock and they'd welcome you.
Wow.
Even, if you go to the military, the judges, they all like to talk. Yeah, you could go all day, all night, just knocking on doors and preaching.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Preacher's paradise.
It was nice. And we did Harinam, and then I left eventually, but later they had a civil war in Sierra Leone, which was brutal. And I think the devotees had to escape we had one devotee, Baraha was there. He's in Nigeria now. Really nice devotee. He had to run for his life.
Wow. Were you there when our god sister Ladini, what was her name? Ladini Shakti?
Harini Shakti.
She was murdered.
She came after me, I think, and I never met her, but you know, she was in Liberia where there's a civil war also. And I asked her, well, why didn't you take her out of there? And they said, well, the devotees wanted to stay. I said, you can't stay during a civil war. You have to get out, you know?
Yeah.
So then she got shot.
Wow. Yeah, Mahananda Prabhu's wife.
Right. Yeah, I met him in St. Augustine later.
Me too. I met him there as well. Huh. So after Africa, then what was the next stop? And you spent time with Prabhupada in Africa, or you didn't have much contact with him there?
No, I never went to South Africa until later.
Okay.
But after that, I went to China with Jamal's China mission for about a year.
Wow. Was that with Dristadumna and Bhakti True Swami came later?
No, they came later. Yeah. So there's parties of two. Jamal organized two devotees to go different places. So we did that for a while. The Chinese were very, very kind of a strange country. I used to have dreams every night, like vivid dreams. And you remember the story Prabhupada told about a tiger chasing somebody, and he turned around, saw the tiger, and then he woke up, right?
Right.
That exact scene happened to me in China. I was running, and this tiger cornered me, and then I screamed right in the night. And there was about 10 devotees in the temple in Guangzhou. And I remember I woke up and I thought, oh my God, what a dream, you know? And every night it was just like being in a different world.
Wow. So in China, you were in plain clothes. Obviously, you weren't able to.
Yeah. So I haven't started growing a mustache. And as soon as I grew a mustache, the people would walk up to me and start talking to me in Chinese.
Did you learn some Chinese?
No.
Not much. Gee.
Hello, goodbye. Thank you.
Ni hao ma. Ni hao.
But I love the Chinese. They're so humble and intelligent. And I was in Wuhan, I stayed in Wuhan. That was my preaching field.
Wow. And was it mostly through yoga classes or like that?
We would have, it was preaching with bicycles. We would go out at night to the universities, the biggest universities.
Yeah.
And they would have an English corner for people who want to learn English. So we would show up and start talking English, and all of the people would rush to hear us talk. And then we say, well, you got to learn a little bit about yoga and bhakti, and we get them to chant, and we have some books we smuggled in.
Wow.
It was kind of fun for a while. And then TMM Square came, the big rally. So we were going to take a train from Wuhan to Beijing for the rally and do kirtan during the protest. And then it just didn't happen. We didn't make the train, and so we just stayed in Wuhan. And then we heard that the tanks came in and started rolling over the protesters.
Wow.
And right after that, everything in China was completely changed. People were completely paranoid. They liked us, but they said, we can't invite you anymore. We can't come to you. They'll put us in jail. They'll take our jobs away. They'll put us, So the preaching came to a halt. So that's when I left. I came back to America, and I joined the San Diego ISKCON Temple.
That was 80 something?
End of 89.
And you served there?
Yeah, I served there, and that's where we started Govinda's Bliss Bars.
Oh, yes.
And that's where I took Siksha from Govinda Maharaj when he came a couple of
Oh,
times.
nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. He was inspiring. I met him in Long Island around 90, I don't know where it was, 92 or something. I didn't know him, but it was just
Uh,
a couple of Bengali brahmacharis. And when he started speaking, I thought, wow, who is this God brother? He's quoting these gigantic slokas. And in a second, he established shiksha with me. He asked him, what's your name? I said, Gauradas. He said, all right. And then he'd speak and he'd say, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that by chanting the holy name of the Lord, we cleanse the heart. What is that verse, Gauraji? Chaito Darpana Marjanam. Yes, Chaito Darpana. I just found I was like sitting on my seat because he kept asking me for shlokas, and so I wanted to be there for him, And then before I knew it, like, wow, what a nice relationship. I never had that kind of relationship with anybody before.
yeah, he melted the heart. And I was completely sold out, but the authorities in San Diego were against him.
Really?
He would be speaking, and then they'd say, "Oh, we're sorry, Maharaj, you have to stop. We're going to have RT or this or that." And he would just shake his head, So he was kind of dividing the temple between pros and cons. Now, most people liked him, but some of the upper echelon didn't appreciate him.
Did he get all three initiations at the same time, or the first two? Prabhupada met him, and he gave him, I think, first and second, or maybe first, second, and sannyas all in one shot, something like that.
Yeah, I think he got initiated, and then there's a sannyas ceremony,
right?
And there was one place left for him, and people wondered, well, who's that place for? And then Govinda Maharaj sat down, and everybody said, wait a minute, he's just a new devotee. How can he be a sannyasi? So they complained to Prabhupada. Said, Prabhupada, this is just a new man. How can you give him a sannyas? And Prabhupada said, no, you're the new man. He's just a devotee from birth.
Right.
So yeah, he rose to fame very quickly.
So you were touched by him?
Yeah, deeply. And when he disappeared, I was completely lost what to do.
I remember when he left. Sorry, I was going to say quickly, when he left Long Island, I felt I wanted to go with him on that plane, but I had a broken down motorhome, and I'm thinking, Gora, you're hanging on to this old 73 Dodge motorhome. You could be going with such a great soul, you idiot. Please continue, Maharaj.
Yeah. So he said, Acharya will come this year. The year he left his body by voluntary exiting in Mayapur in 96. He said, somebody's coming this year who will give prema to this movement. So after he left, then in June or something, Narayan Maharaja started his world tour, first world tour.
Uh-huh.
So most of the devotees with Govinda Maharaj left ISKCON and joined Narayan Maharaj.
Huh. They only left ISKCON because Narayan Maharaj was not so welcome in ISKCON. That's the understanding?
Yeah, in 94, they officially banned him from coming to Krishna Balaram temple.
Uh-huh.
And and then Tamal did kind of a 180-degree turn. He was going to him and taking Siksha and praising him up and down. And then after the GBC came down on Tamal, then he started coming down on Narayan Maharaj.
Really?
Yeah, and saying, terrible things.
Wow.
So
where did you contact Srila Narayan Maharaj? Where was that?
in Badger, California.
I see. You went from San Diego to attend the talk.
Yeah, but they told me, you can't come back to the temple. You can go, but don't come back. But I had to come back because we had a factory producing prasadam every day. And So I came back to the factory and just lived in the rafters.
What, from your perspective, Maharaj, how do you see how the authorities were responding? Is it because Srila Narayan Maharaj was so inspiring and that they were worried about losing manpower and money, or because some say no, it was because of philosophical reasons? I asked Giriraj Maharaj, I said, I know that you spent some time with him, but then, at one point you backed off, and even I heard so many Guru Godbrothers got banned from Vrindavan for a year by the GBC for associating with him. And I said, what's your outlook? And he said, Srila Narayan Maharaj has a different emphasis. That's all he said. He had a different emphasis. That was his response.
Oh, I said your question should have been, what is that emphasis?
Yeah.
The emphasis was on pure bhakti.
Uh-huh.
That's why he called his website purebhakti.com.
Right. So what were you?
Anyabilasita.
Sorry. Yes. Anyabilashita Shanyam Jnana.
Shanyam.
Yes.
Navidam. Anukulena Krishna Nushilanam. Bhakti Uttama.
Uttama. Yes.
So he was a pure devotee, no doubt about it. And he had love and affection for Prabhupada and vice versa. Prabhupada gave him the keys to his money and his books and everything. Had him send all murtis and cartels and Madranga. And when Prabhupada came to India for the first time after being in America, then Narayan Maharaj was the only one to meet him at the airport.
Really?
Yeah. And Prabhupada is quoted, there were so many letters, but a lot of letters he gave to Satsarup. And I heard they were burned. I don't know, but they said they were disappeared. But somebody else said, no, they were burned. But one of the letters that were saved, Prabhupada said, when I first saw you, I had the same feeling of love and affection that I had with my Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta. And Narayan Maharaj, performed the sannyas ceremony under the direction of Krishna Maharaj in the Mathura Gaudiya Math when Prabhupada got sannyas. So they're very close and they live together and cook together, and joke together. So I can't imagine what Prabhupada would have said.
Sorry, excuse me. Please continue.
Yeah, I'm saying what Prabhupada had been here to see all the offenses that were made against him. I'm sure he would have,
Chastised
spoken. Yeah.
You said that Prabhupada gave him the keys to his room in Radha Damodar Mandir?
Wherever it was, because his money was controlled by Narayan Maharaj, because when he wanted money, Narayan Maharaj had to wire it to him.
I see. Interesting.
And he said in his letter, he said, our relationship is based on love and trust.
Right. I don't know if it was Ravindra Swarup Prabhu or who it was, but I remember articles years ago online appearing, making accusations of Srila Narayan Maharaj being influenced by Sahajas. So could you clarify that, please?
He was influenced mostly by Bhakti Pragya Kesha Maharaj,
right,
who, along with Bhakti Rakshakshir Maharaj, were like the main generals in the camp of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati.
Right.
And after Bhakti Siddhanta left, Kesha Maharaj and Sridhar Maharaj were like the ultimate authorities on the Siddhanta and everything. So, Srila Narayan Maharaj served Kesha Maharaj heart and soul for so many years. And when Prabhupada asked Narayan Maharaj to come to the West with him, he said, I know I've been put in charge of the Mathura Math. I can't just up and leave,
Right.
But, there's a thing called envy. I think people are just envious. Same thing with Gaur Govinda Maharaj, same thing with Sridhar Maharaj. They all were offended. And not, a few devotees took advantage and took their association and benefited. coming out of the institutional kind of grip and getting the mercy, because we should always be hearing from a Mahabhagavad. That's what Prabhupada said, always hear from Mahabhagavad Uttamadhikari, and then you'll make rapid advancement.
And to be anugatya.
Under the guidance. Under the guidance. Tanam Rupachartikar Sikirtanam Shmidokaman Rasanamas Yoja Tistan Raja Anugami Jaganugami Kalamayam Etiapadasharam. That was Rupa Goswami's 8th verse in the Nectar of Instruction. Always live in Vrindavan, hearing and chanting 24/7, Anugatya, under the guidance of superior Vaishnavas.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is the ultimate instruction, to always be under the guidance of a Mahabhagavad. Although they're very rare, you have to hear from them. And Prabhupada asked Sridhar Maharaj to be the president of ISKCON in 1977 and join him in Mayapur.
Yes.
So that kind of goes counter to everything people put up. Oh, Prabhupada said don't associate with his god brothers.
Uh-huh.
And then Prabhupada invited Sridhar Maharaj to be the president of ISKCON.
And also it is said that I've heard of 2 different Bengali translations for Srila Prabhupada. I don't know if it was the last day or the last couple of days, but Srila Narayan Maharaj went to visit Srila Prabhupada in his rooms in Vrindavan, and Srila Prabhupada made reference to how, he could only train his disciples so much, and he asked Srila Narayan Maharaj, and I heard from another godbrother, it wasn't just Srila Narayan Maharaj, but he was asking his godbrothers in general to care for us, to train us further.
I think personally it was directed to Narayan Maharaj. He said, they need more training. I have not had time to personally, train them. So you please help. And then Narayan Maharaj agreed. So he's just carrying out Prabhupada's request by coming to the temples, but the temples wouldn't receive him at all. So that's, another sad part of the history of Vaishnavism in the West.
Yes.
The attempts at Vaishnavism in the West, it's called, Bhakti Abhas, Vaishnavism Abhas.
Abbas meaning the shadow reflection.
Yeah, a compromised bhakti.
Mm-hmm.
So he stayed separate and started in Badger, and then we opened up a temple in Los Angeles, San Diego, Houston, New York. And the Sangha wasn't very big, but still was very, very dedicated. They published a lot of books. They're still publishing a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jadharani, who Gurudev called Shamarati, joined, and
Right.
a lot of God sisters of Shamarati also joined.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of my God brothers, Pushpadanta from Eugene,
Right.
Matilda Dish from Los Angeles, Atul Krishna was in Washington, D.C.,
Mm-hmm.
and Vrindavan Vilasini, Mula Prakriti, Gopi Puranadana,
Urukram.
Urukram, who became Padmanabha Swami.
Yeah. One observation I've made is, since we were used to the very loving, very caring, very personal and pure connection with Srila Prabhupada, that so many had the great fortune to go on morning walks with and to get personal direction. Since we can't expect our godbrothers to be on the level of Srila Prabhupada, where they actually are being like a shelter to us and very kind and very loving, and then it's natural that many would be attracted to Srila Narayan Maharaj because of not, his purity, his maturity, and his loving nature. And so to try to like cut that, um, it seems artificial because we're looking for that nourishment. And some may say, well, let's read Prabhupada's books, right? Just read the books. Everything you need is there.
And why, so many people are falling away, breaking the principles. They promise Prabhupada, I won't take any intoxication.
Yeah.
And I see devotees today openly saying on Facebook, I'm taking, pot,
Right.
smoking pot, chanting Hare Krishna, and having, one wife, two wives, three wives.
Yeah, lack of association.
So, and who's chanting 16 rounds?
Yeah.
So, the pure devotees are just like Krishna, Sakshat Hari Twain. You get so enlivened. And, Prabhupada came and we started chanting. So after 20, 30 years of chanting the Maha Mantra every day, your consciousness has been purified. So the Siksha Guru is not going to speak on the same topics maybe that your Diksha Guru was speaking about. So that's why I think they call them Sahaja, because Prabhupada was teaching, Dehino Smenita Dehi. Narayan Maharaj, came in and started speaking firstly, Anya Vilasa Shunyam Gyanikam Nadam. So what is real bhakti? Pure bhakti without any material desires and emphasis on their desire for liberation.
Of course, in Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita, of course, he's giving Anyabilashita Shunyam, and he's presenting Ramananda Roy, and he's presenting the highest topics as well.
Right.
But Narayan Maharaj, because bhakti is unlimited and the knowledge is unlimited, he started to, you could say, like a zip file. He was unzipping the files. He was providing us. He was guiding us into what Prabhupada was giving us.
Right.
I could say, would you
No,
agree?
he used to say Prabhupada's books are under lock and key, and I have the key.
Yeah.
So he read the first lectures he gave in Badger were using Prabhupada's books.
Right.
The Essence of All Advice or something. Upadeshamrita. Yeah, we're going through the Upadeshamrita of Prabhupada, and then we published a book called The Essence of All Advice.
Correct.
Where Prabhupada is quoting and looking at verses in the Upadeshamrita.
Right.
With a whole promotion for Raganuga Bhakti, because devotees get addicted to just the Vedi Bhakti, 16 round, 4 principles, 16 rounds, 4 principles, sell the books. So Gurudev really wanted to push the principle of Raganuga Bhakti, because by Vedi Bhakti, according to Krishnadas and Prabhupada's translation of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Vedi Bhakti will only get you to Vaikuntha. You can't go to Golok. So you have to come to the second stage, the upgrade from Vedi Bhakti to Raganuga. And that can only come by association for somebody who is a bhavuk, who's in bhav, who's realized his sarup and can give you, and give you the rudiments to practice and be in Raganuga Bhakti.
It's
so
ironic.
He didn't say we are Raganugas. He said we are still Vedi Bhaktas aspiring for Raganuga. So he's leading us to the path of spontaneous love and affection. So Vedi Bhakti can be rough. Like if you read Madhurya Kandamani, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur compares Sadhan Bhakti to 2 sides of a leaf. One side is smooth and one side is rough. So the Vedi Bhakti is a rough side. It's like poison in the beginning and nectar at the end. But the smooth side is Raganuga, where advancement is very quick.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give Raganuga Bhakti, but yet there seems to be a fear from some sections of Vaishnavas that no, we can't go there, we shouldn't go there. I mean, even myself, I'm thinking my Vaidhi Bhakti leaves a lot to be desired. So who am I to think about going to Raganuga Bhakti if I'm not even a good Vaidhi Bhakta?
Yeah. Well, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote that song.
Shuddha Bhakta?
About Raganuga.
Oh.
That's one song in the songbook. That those who, basically it says, those who are strictly following the principles of Vedic Bhakti, they're given the jewel of entering into Raganuga Bhakti.
Uh-huh.
But it may not happen for many, many lives until you actually come under the guidance of a pure Raganuga Bhakta. So you can be like, Ramanuja sect is also very good at following Vedic Bhakti. But then you can go for following those principles life after life until you actually meet, by Krishna's mercy, a devotee who is a Raganuga Bhakta. And then his heart and his love will, infect your heart, and you'll, easily develop rag, deep attachment for Radha Krishna, going anytime, chanting, hearing. So you do the same things, you don't do anything different. Maybe a few things are different, but basically it's the same Vedic Bhakti, but you have a whole different mood.
The Madhvacharya Sampradaya, of course, we're in it, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, but I don't know if actually in the Madhva Sampradaya, they don't address so much the gopis and Krishna, do they?
It'd be hard for me to say,
Okay.
But Mahaprabhu himself, he debated with the Tattvadis from the Madhvacharya sect and defeated them because they had some attachment for karma and gyan.
And maybe
so
yes.
There is, I don't know if it's in Prabhupada's books. I read there are definite discrepancies between the Gaudiya Vaishnavas and the followers of Madhvacharya.
Even though that's our lineage.
Right. So we take the general principles, and Lord Chaitanya took two principles from Madhvacharya. He's defeated Mayavad and his worshipping of the deity. From Ramanuja, he took two principles from Vishnu Swami and from Devaditya. So we look at the main principle of accepting the deity and preaching against Mayavad. We don't go so much into the details of the differences.
Before we conclude this interview, Maharaj, is there any thoughts in your heart that you would like to share regarding, your you served Prabhupada's mission for so many years. You pioneered so many temples. You took inspiration from Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj. You took inspiration from Srila Narayan Maharaj. So with your life experience of serving, I guess 50 plus years, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, what would you, I mean, it's difficult to sum it all up in a few sentences, but do you have any thoughts that you think that could be pertinent or relevant to the Gaudiya? We have several branches now of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, several branches of the Chaitanya tree, and yet we see the devotees having to deal with sectarianism. I know Prabhupada told one devotee, I think, follow your heart. He asked, I can't remember who that was that he spoke to, but sometimes there's fear. Of course, personally myself, I live in a small farm town far away from any temple or even any devotee. So, I'm not under any, there's no police here, but I don't know if I'm articulating myself very well, but if you have some.
Anyway, let me just say this. Gorgavina Maharaj used to always say in his classes over and over again, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Kaya Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shri Hoy. Hear from the sadhu, serve the sadhu. You'll get bhakti, everything. One-stop shopping, you know. So if you want to progress in bhakti, if you want to, melt your iron heart, if you want to overcome all your anarthas in one fell swoop, if you want to avoid falling down after, disassociation from your guru, then find a pure devotee. They're existing. They're definitely there. And hear him, serve him every day as much as possible. But have to be connected, with this whole video. It's not going to be going online if we're not connected to the internet. So we have to be connected spiritually to the powerhouse of bhakti. And those are the acharyas or the pure devotees, the sadhus. So Guru Govinda said that, and it just made such a deep impression on me. And I'm saying the same thing to make an impression on anyone, that all your troubles are solved as soon as you come into touch with a pure devotee of the Lord. He may not be in your specific group, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Sri Krishna Samhita, he warns against this group consciousness as one of the 18 obstacles to bhakti. So we should get over it and try to see that Krishna consciousness is beyond the walls and stones of the building, And we should just find one pure devotee that we have faith in and who has a love and affection for us. And of course, it's in the same line. And be happy in Krishna consciousness. There's the only way to be happy in Krishna consciousness if you're hearing from a living and a walking sadhu. It's okay, you're hearing lectures on the internet and reading the books. That definitely is going to help. But when you meet a living, walking sadhu, it's like, a whole world of a difference.
Right. So I was hearing after the departure of Srila Narayan Maharaj, many devotees were saying, because there's always supposed to be a pure devotee, an Uttamadhikari on the planet, then Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, he was the next one to take shelter of it, and he departed. So if do you mind me asking you personally who is that person for you today? Or do you think it's sufficient just to listen to the recordings and the books of Srila?
No. I'm saying it's good.
Yeah.
But if you really want to, fly over the ocean of material birth and death, you must find a living, walking sadhu.
So do you mind me
and
asking?
It says, and
Yes.
Bhakti Bhakti Jama Mula Hoya Sharashanga, Krishna Prema Hoya Punamuka Anga, Tinamuka Anga. Bhakti, association with the sadhu is the root of bhakti. And even after you achieve bhakti, prema, still sadhu sangha is very necessary.
So do you mind me asking who that is for you today?
Yeah, you can ask. I'm not going to tell you. You have to come down. I invited you to come down and join me in the West Palm Beach Harinam party.
Yes.
And if you associate with me, then I'll definitely tell you.
I'm not ready to have I forget, Mahabodhi told me it's ethanol, ethylene or something, some poison that they put at the end of these swabs up your nose.
No, but where there's a will, there's a way. I have to get one too to go back to America. So I'm working on it because I have to fly out of here in a week, less than a week.
Oh, wow. Okay. I see. Okay. Well, let me in on your secrets because it would be nice to be able to travel again. There's a heavy snowfall going on outside my window right now. But Matras Parshas Tukoteya, Shitoshna. Shita means winter, right? Shita, no, Ushna. I can't remember which one it is. Summer, winter.
Sita means cold.
Cold.
Like a song by Narottam Sixteen.
But on that
Sita
note,
atapa tapata barishana.
Edina.
Atapa barishana.
Edina.
So anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Nice
thank you.
talking to you.
Yeah, I'm so happy to know you much better. I love, I have great affection for all my God brothers and great admiration to all my God sisters. They're the greatest personalities on the planet. I hate to be caught in the fray of politics between this Sangha and that Sangha. I'm very happy when I meet devotees.
Anyway, it's like God, it's like this. We're both anti-vax, right?
Yeah.
The same thing. We want the truth. Is the vaccine good or is it the vaccine bad? The vaccine is bad. We know why. We have the proof.
Yes.
So we want the Siddhanta. Is the Siddhanta that we fell from Vaikuntha, or is it Siddhanta that we fell from Tatasta Shakti, from Brahman? So we want to follow the truth. Right. Therefore, we consult Sridhar Maharaj, we consult Krishna Maharaj, we consult Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and then we get to the final conclusion. And then we ask, those who are Uttamadhikaris, those who are beyond, the controls of the laws of nature, and get their verdict.
Right.
So, that we are for the truth and the principles of Bhakti Siddhanta. Bhakti Siddhanta is our general. And so we should imbibe the Siddhanta from him and his disciples and grand disciples. And then we should follow that truth.
Yes.
Not that I pledge allegiance to the institution of blah, blah, blah. I promise never to leave the institution of blah, blah, blah. We are pledged to the truth and to the personality of God who speaks the truth in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if you're the only person that believes in the truth and everybody else is just taking what the institution says, then I'll stick with you.
I get it. Maybe we can have another session sometime. You can share more about Raganuga Bhakti or your personal experiences with Srila Narayan Maharaj, since you were with him for how many years?
From 96 to his departing was in 2010.
That could make an interesting discussion.
Yeah. I'd be happy to speak.
Part two.
Okay, Vanchakapa, Gora Prabhu Ki Jai.
Maharaj Namo Namaha. Swaha. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
You're welcome.